wasn't until I read a book called Hope, H-O-P, which I've got in my bag. Hope, which is a book which says, come out. Went to the bowling club and the annual meeting, and I said to the whole group, which was amazing, the reactions. I then went to, next week, believe it or not, was the conference, the Lay Preachers Association. So off I went and I did the same thing, and I came out. Best thing I ever did.
My first reaction was, I guess, selfish, I feel, because we both lead busy, probably independent at times, lives, and at that stage I thought, how is this going to change both of our lives? I guess I didn't know a lot about it, and nor did Ken, and I sought to get help and looked in the phone book, and after finding an ad in the paper, went to the support group, and that led me to Parkinson's Victoria, and they were extremely helpful. But I guess that's a different dimension. It's really stopping me at my tracks when Ken said, we won't tell anybody. So I felt it was unfair, but I had to be fair to his wishes.
Well, for probably about 2 years, I was having tremors in the left hand, and it was something I just dismissed and thought, oh, maybe I'm a bit nervous. Or I noticed when I was giving lectures, I would start shaking a little bit and thought, oh, look, I don't know why I'm nervous this time. I've done these lectures many, many years in a row, and I know my stuff, but why am I shaking? Oh, well, maybe I am nervous, and couldn't quite work it out. And I went to see the doctor for something totally unrelated, and I said, look, have a look at my hand. It seems to be shaking a lot. And he said, oh, look, we'll investigate this. Look, it's probably nothing, but just to be sure, we'll run through some tests and we'll just make sure that it's nothing, you know, just to be on the safe side. When I saw the second neurologist, he was a lovely man, and I'm still seeing him. He diagnosed it as Parkinson's, even though I'm an early sufferer of Parkinson's. He said, he made me feel that it's not the end of the earth. Many people get Parkinson's, and it's a disease which can take hold very, very slowly and affects everybody differently.
Basically, I was diagnosed just about 3 years ago, and at that stage I was having a lot of difficulty with mobility and concentration and a whole range of issues. But basically I thought I had a bad case of psoriatic arthritis, which in itself is a pretty debilitating diagnosis, but it turned out to be Parkinson's disease, and I haven't worked since. I was the CEO of a district hospital. I'd been through a major building a new hospital. Got to the stage where I was fairly responsible position, and on a day-to-day basis I was in control of my own destiny to some extent, but also out of control with a lot of expectations. When I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, it came to be that I had to make my own destiny. I had to reverse my role and become passive about my role rather than be proactive and accept things, and I suppose I went through a whole range of frustrations in dealing with a big change in my life.
Well, I was at the GP for a completely different reason, and I just asked him to refer me to a physio for what I thought was a netball accident that had taken years to heal. And he did a few dexterity tests and said that he thought it was nerve damage, and it wouldn't get any better, but it wouldn't get any worse. And he was actually quite upset about that, and he referred me to a neurologist just to confirm. And yeah, he sent me through the battery of tests, MRIs and again motor skills tests and blood tests, ruling at various things out, and it came back as Parkinson's.
Well, I started 26 years ago, so I've had it for 26 years. It was a shock to the system to sort of try to sit down and stop shaking, and I could understand why. I was teaching and I had trouble with the students, not trouble, but them not understanding me, or especially the latter part of the day. And so I decided to go see someone about it. I mean, it was only a small tremor, but it was constant, it was always there.
Before I got diagnosed, I started to notice things like not swinging my left arm, not quite picking up my left foot, just a little bit of stumble, but not much, and opening up a milk carton, I had to actually think about it to actually get the left hand to actually do it. I realised there was something not happening quite right. So I looked up the web and I figured I'd either had a lot of little strokes or I had Parkinson's.
Well, it started before I was diagnosed, actually. I took early retirement in 2002, March 2002, which I planned. And I developed a tremor. Well, it was a tremor, but I didn't know it at the time. And I was treated for golfer's and tennis elbow, one on either side. And it took a few months for that to be diagnosed as being incorrect. And I was sent to a neurologist, and he diagnosed within minutes that I'd got Parkinson's. And that was in February 2003.
It was probably when I was in my late 40s, and I just started getting a sense of weakness, especially in my legs, extremely fatigued, and I lost fitness. I used to be really, really fit, and I just couldn't do anything anymore. Aches and pains, so it was really very general and could have been half a dozen things, and of course I was in my late 40s, so hey, it's menopause.
And the doctor said to me, "You've got Parkinson's." Just like that. And I said, "I have not." "Yes," he said, "you have." I said, "I don't believe you." And for the next 2 or 3 visits, I was apparently quite clean, if we say. And he said, it'll come, it'll come. You'll see it next time. And he's quite right, I did.
When Ted was first diagnosed, I suppose I was a little surprised. Ted wasn't affected very much at all, and so we just went along, took the pills and hoped for the best.
My initial reaction was shock and surprise. I'd been fit and healthy and played a lot of sport, football, and I was still playing cricket and night tennis, and I was a person who didn't get sick, let alone catch any or experience any major diseases. And after that initial shock and surprise, I was grateful that I hadn't contracted something more serious, perhaps fatal.
That was probably one of the hardest things to deal with, was to accept it within myself and then talk to people. But, you know, I'm now ready to tell anybody and everybody, but at that stage I needed a couple of months. I needed a bit of time to internally process it, work out what it meant for me, what changes I might have in the future, and to be accepted for the person that I still am, even though there might be changes happening to me at some stage later in my life.
When I was diagnosed, I actually couldn't get hold of anyone. I went from the neurologist's office to the sort of waiting room downstairs, and I couldn't get hold of anyone. It's very difficult for my parents, especially being healthy and their child not being well, so they find it very difficult to handle. A lot of my family, it took them a little while to understand and believe it, because they see my grandmother and they see me, and they can't sort of match the two together. So I've had a lot of feedback that, oh, it can't be Parkinson's because you're 28. So that was a little frustrating. I've had a few people say that to me, well, you can't be Parkinson's at your age.
Sharing the news was difficult at first, but my wife and I made a decision that we'd be open and frank, called our family together, my adult children and their partners, on Father's Day, and told them the news, and they were shocked and upset at the time, and then we dissolved into some sort of humour, which is the way our family tends to address things. And we told our friends almost immediately, friends and family, and were very open about it.